Lake Clark National Park and Preserve is an American national park in southwest Alaska, about 100 miles southwest of Anchorage. The park was first proclaimed a national monument in 1978, then established as a national park and preserve in 1980 by the Alaska National Interest Lands Conservation Act. The park includes many streams and lakes vital to the Bristol Bay salmon fishery, including its namesake Lake Clark. A wide variety of recreational activities may be pursued in the park and preserve year-round. The park protects rainforests along the coastline of Cook Inlet, alpine tundra, glaciers, glacial lakes, major salmon-bearing rivers, and two volcanoes, Mount Redoubt and Mount Iliamna. Mount Redoubt is active, erupting in 1989 and 2009. The wide variety of ecosystems in the park mean that virtually all major Alaskan animals, terrestrial and marine, may be seen in and around the park. Salmon, particularly sockeye salmon, play a major role in the ecosystem and the local economy. The Kvichak River is the world's most productive watershed for sockeye salmon. Large populations of brown bears are attracted to feed on the spawning salmon in the Kvichak River and at Silver Salmon Creek. Bear watching is a common activity in the park. No roads lead to the park, which can only be reached by boat or small aircraft, typically floatplanes. The major settled area in the park and preserve is Port Allsworth on Lake Clark. 5 other settlements are within the park, populated mainly by Dena'ina natives. Prior to the park's establishment, isolated cabins were scattered around the region, the most well-known belonging to Richard Proenich, whose films documenting his solitary life at Twin Lakes were made into Alone in the Wilderness in 2003. Lake Clark was proclaimed a national monument by President Jimmy Carter using the Antiquities Act on December 1, 1978. Lake Clark's status was changed to National Park and Preserve in 1980 by Congress, and about 2/3 was designated wilderness. While both sport and subsistence hunting are permitted in the National Preserve lands, only subsistence hunting by local residents is permitted within the national park. Lake Clark National Park and Preserve covers 4,030,015 acres at the base of the Alaska Peninsula in south-central Alaska, about 100 miles southwest of Anchorage. Of the total area, about 2,637,000 acres lie in the park and 1,400,000 acres in the preserve. The park and associated national preserve extend from the Cook Inlet across the Shigmit Mountains and the Nyakula Mountains, on the northern end of the Aleutian Range, and on into the Alaska interior. Lake Clark is the largest lake in the park, on the southwest corner of the park. The National Preserve lands adjoin park lands on the west, offering both subsistence and sport hunting, in contrast to park lands, where only subsistence hunting by local residents is allowed. The extreme southwest section of the preserve includes Alaskan Native Corporation lands, which are not open to the public. Most of the park section is designated as wilderness. The eastern part of the park near the Cook Inlet includes 2 active volcanoes, Mount Redoubt and Mount Iliamna. A third, Mount Spur, is just outside the park to the east. The chief river in the park is the Kvichak River. Another large river, the Tlicacula River, runs across the park from its source at Summit Lake to Lake Clark, emerging from the lake and the park as the Newhalen River. The park is not accessible by roads. Access is solely by air taxi or by boat along the Cook Inlet coast and Lake Clark. Since much of the movement in the area is by air, the mountains present a significant barrier to air traffic. Lake Clark Pass, at 1,050 feet, provides a way through the mountains by air at low elevation, and is the main route between Anchorage and western Alaska. The main inhabited place in the park is Port Allsworth on Lake Clark, with a Park Service visitor center and a number of privately operated lodges. Air taxis make regular trips between Port Allsworth and outside communities.